Oh, the good news is we didn't lose any of the panelists. That's what I was afraid of. So I'm very, very pleased to have a few people from really 4 terrific companies, Genomatica, CMC Materials, and Deloitte, who have different responsibilities in different companies. But I think they really represent a nice combination of companies and people with experiences to really address some of these career opportunity questions. Since the names and the titles of each of the 4 panelists was sent to all of you in the audience, we won't go through that. But obviously, when they address some of the questions that I'm going to ask them, obviously you'll have an opportunity to really understand what they do and where they're coming from. So I think what I'd like to do is, what I'm going to do is, we're going to spend about 40 minutes. I'm going to ask some questions and direct it to the panelists. Any of the panelists can decide to answer the question or not answer the question. And then we're going to make sure there's 10 minutes at least at the end for Q&A from all of you. I think the best way will probably be if you just use the chat function to type your question, and all of the panelists will be able to see the questions as well. So I think the first question is, and this is always a challenge for any profession, is there are really a lot of different jobs and things that are available in any profession, right? So maybe what the first question really is, what are the different kinds of job and career opportunities that exist for chemical and engineering graduates? And this is to anyone on the panel.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. Dave Yankovich from Deloitte. I think based on your backgrounds being engineers, I think there's tremendous opportunities in terms of different roles that you could fill, serving the chemical industry. For example, one role could be around helping develop models and analysis and really ultimately solving a problem for the industry or for an individual company or for a function. I think the skill sets you bring to the table really open up the possibilities for you to do a lot across the entire industry.
Yes, Bo, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I'll add to what it has described. So traditionally, chemical engineers and chemists, they can join the traditional chemical, petrochemical businesses and companies, oil gas companies, and then so they can do the wide range of career path. You can be in the technology function, doing research development. You can do process development, product development. There's also major capital projects. You can work on pure engineering activity. So there are actually quite a broad range of career path you can pursue. So myself, right now, I'm working for Genomatica. So I lead the process development, process modeling team. Actually, that's entirely consists of people coming with background of chemistry and chemical engineering. So we are the industry biotechnology company, but chemical engineers can go to other kinds of biotech companies such as pharmaceuticals, therapeutic, and the companies like us, which providing kind of sustainable options to everyday products. So there's a really exciting, actually new type of career for people with your background.
Yes, go ahead, Anita.
Yeah, hello everybody. Actually, I would like to add on what Bo and David said. So I come from a background from semiconductor industry, and I diversified into oil and gas. So I do believe that chemical engineering opens doors for various industries like semiconductors, pharmaceutical, engineering companies, oil and gas as well. You look let me give you a flavor of how our electronic chemicals division as well as our performance materials division supports semiconductor research. So you know that electronics is touching every aspect of life, right from cleaning house, commuting, entertainment, cooking, everything, right? And chip making is the spine of this entire electronic gamut. So the design rules are getting tighter. We want more compact devices, and chips are the biggest contributor for that. So our company is electronic division, has high purity chemicals. They make consumables like slurry and pads, which help to make the processes at the semiconductor giants like Samsung, Intel more efficient with the latest technology material. And we need chemical engineers for that.
By the way, there one of the member of the audience says there's an echo, and it could be an individual on the line, or it could be a microphone. So, suggest if you're not speaking, just mute your microphone. That may be the cause, or it could be some other cause. It could be someone's microphone themselves. Kelly, any comment before we move to the next question?
Yeah, absolutely. So following up what Bo said, talking about the traditional engineering roles, I also suggest looking into companies, especially at the entry level where most of you are, that have leadership development or rotational programs. So Solvay has a rotational development program for engineers called Foundations for the Future. And it gives you a couple of years to really figure out what you want to do. So you rotate through different business units, different traditional engineering roles. So process engineering, production engineering, project management, but we're now even expanding into adding into some supply chain and product management roles as well. And then beyond there, I think, you can really move into wherever you want to go. And I think there's even business side opportunities, which is the path I chose. I'm an alumnus of the Foundations program. I was an operations manager at one of our facilities. I was a supply chain manager following that, and now I'm a sales manager. So I really think the sky is the limit.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the wonderful things about a lot of these companies, which is you can go into a whole variety of different things, right? And I think the stereotype is, well, you're going to be in R&D and manufacturing, but the reality is so many people, they end up in sales or in strategy or in finance and so forth. It's really very exciting. Or just pure, senior management. So, and I guess the decision where to go will be an individual between you and the company as far as what's the best fit. So now the next question is, where is the profession heading, good and bad, right? And I want you guys to be fair, right? Because I don't want you to say, everything is good, right? And the only problem I have is with kryptonite or something, right? So I want you to be fair, because all industries, right, are a mixture of good and bad things, right? And so forth. But so what's the perspective? And I know it varies according to what sector you're in too, right? So some sectors are growing very rapidly, and others are, because of the dynamics of the industry they're serving, right, are struggling. So any comments about overall this question of where is the profession heading, good and bad?
I'll go first this time. So I'm going to speak to the good, and I'll let everyone else talk to the bad, because I think there's a lot of really exciting things happening. You're welcome. I think it's a great place to be. I think we're at this stage where we're really going to see innovation take off. Where I think we're kind of at the beginning of that, and we're just going to see acceleration and innovation. As we move to a more sustainable world, as we fight climate change and really looking for green, sustainable solutions, I think there's going to be so much change that happens in the next 5 years, and I think it's exciting to be a part of that.
Yeah, I would add to that the good side. So as I think chemical engineering and chemistry are the most versatile subjects majors that you can choose. So congratulations for have already been through that journey. So I mean, even though the traditional chemical industry, petrochemical industry has not been growing as fast, but then alternatives like people like us, in providing sustainability options and still utilizing chemical engineering, chemistry skills. There's lots of options like that, and then you can readily apply your skills into those options. And then myself, I joined BP, British Petroleum, after my PhD. So I work in the petrochemical and chemical segment for BP. But the learnings, the experience that I learned is absolutely transferable and into the bioprocesses we're developing. So it's the most versatile experience and knowledge you have from all. So I think I just see all the exciting side coming out, and then exciting career in front of you.
Yeah, and I will say that you got to be careful not to say, well, this is a mature part of chemicals, because there's like a surge of innovation often and for example, in Dr. Chen's company, they're making plastics out of corn and renewable things. And so you say, well, isn't polypropylene or whatever it is a mature process? No, but then you can have spurts of innovations, right? Or in lithium battery, lithium materials for electric cars. So you can't assume that one segment is mature and won't go through some innovation. David, any comments?
Yeah, I agree, Peter, Kelly, but what you're all saying. My view is that really the chemical industry really has been very important to all of us in the lives we live in terms of the materials that the industry produces. Quality of life, safety in packaging. There are so many things. The ACC has a statistic that 96% of all manufactured goods come from the chemical industry. So it's been a very important industry for all of us. Looking forward, though, I think the industry really is at a pivotal point to really kind of embrace the challenge in front of it in terms of sustainability. Shifting to maybe different feedstocks. Kind of embracing circularity and just becoming more sustainable, more efficient. And there's some big challenges in front of the industry. But Kelly, like you said, the industry's been great at innovating, and that creates opportunity for all of you, for all of us to innovate new ways of making products, new ways of using products. So even though the future is bright, there's big challenges in front.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add on that. I mean, sustainability and renewable energy is something which we see coming. One more area which I think chemical engineers are needed is as the innovation goes up, as the plants are built, we want to design our facility which will do the chemical recycling. At that time, you need engineers who can design the plants. And chemical engineers are very much needed to build plants, to do the process design engineering. So I see from the design perspective as well, a lot of need in terms of chemical engineers move forward as we pick up the innovation cycle. That's all.
Yeah, and I make one comment. I know that a number of years ago, there was some criticism of the chemical industry, but then the ACC had a series of ads which were very clever, which just emphasized how important the industry is. Mm-hmm. Where the ad was, very popular, where the scene would be, you'd be in a kitchen, and they said, let's see what happens if we remove everything that's made from chemical. And literally everything in the kitchen disappeared. And just before the end of you could tell that the clothes of the person in the kitchen were about to disappear. And so they faded away, right? But I mean, it's a really good point, because if you look around and you see what are all the that you use, whether it's, you know, packaging or cars or whatever it is, and it's really hard to find something that isn't made by the chemical industry, right? So, so that actually means it's sustainable. It's not something that will go away, right? It might shift around, but it's not going to go away because it's so essential to everything that we do. Any other comments on this before we move to the next?
I mean, Peter, just want that on. You know, the chemical industry will be very important for us to move to a much greener, much more sustainable way of living. So, chemical industry is here to stay, and will be very, very important.
Now, the next question, I think a number of you touched on anyway, but let's get into it, which is, how does one get to the profession, and is there a typical career path or really not? You know, I think Kelly, you talked a little bit about that. So anyone on the panel talk about, you know, is there a typical career path? But, you know, how do you get into the profession other than going to a Societe career fair?
I'll take this. So basically, I think that there are a lot of options, right? Like you can start. I started as a process engineer, but I was in the semiconductor industry. But eventually, I got opportunity to go into supply chain, so I moved into supply chain management. And as Kelly said, there are rotation programs in the company that give you opportunity to grow horizontally, as well as learn something and excel into the management style, where you still need the technical background, like for example, technical sales, customer technology. So all those options really, I mean, I feel like this is also a diversification that you can do. It's not needed just be here, but you can also move to some managerial roles moving forward.
Now, I suspect the career paths can be quite different depending upon the size of the company and so forth, right? You know, obviously, too. And I think all of you, you know, are at companies of different sizes, so you can address that. But what are some of the differences in career paths that are typical, I guess, that, you know, that are useful for the students?
I can add on to that. So you can there's certainly multiple different passes, career passes. Is after you get your chemical engineer or chemistry degree, so you could you know, develop yourself into an expert into one specific area. So you can just following if you like innovation, if you like developing new technologies, either it's in, you know, new industries or in the existing industries, you can develop a really good career on that, right? So can start with a process engineer, you can start with the, you know, a development engineer or R&D engineer or scientist, and then you can develop your career into, you know, more depth into what you do and being an expert in that area. Or you can broaden up and be more, you know, apply your knowledge into different type applications and being a more generalized, you know, engineer technologist. Or you can get into, I have many of my colleagues and going into business development, you know, marketing, commercial development, supply chains, and you can go that way. And I also have colleagues which works, you know, likes to manage in larger you know, projects, being, you know, project manager and managing capital projects, managing licensing activities, and also potentially you can also certainly go into manufacturing operation roles and being, you know, ultimately being a general general manager for very large operations. And then that, you know, that it can be a very exciting career as well. So there's also, you can, right now I'm managing a team. So you can also develop yourself, both have technical skill as well as managing teams and then leading the teams into, you know, building, helping the company to do what you need to do. And then that still need very kind of solid foundation in your technical knowledge and experience. So there's you can actually create what your career gonna look like. Nobody gonna be exactly the same as you. So that, I went through lots of kind of trainings and executive trainings, etc., to looking at how other people's career look like. But nobody's career is exactly identical. So there's actually, such exciting energy transitions and sustainability activity coming up. You can create, a career for yourself.
Yeah, and I want to mention that one of the things that's important for all of you, who are students, is it's very, very, no matter how much these panelists or other people tell you about careers, so forth, the most important thing is for you to do a good job of understanding yourself and do a self-assessment, because that actually, no matter how much information you get, careers or a company, if you don't look at yourself and say, can I multitask? Am I willing to work on projects that may go on for a couple of years, or do I need to see that something happen, in a short period of time? Am I an extrovert, or am I an introvert? These are all things that you need to ask yourself and be candid, because it will help you match yourself with the companies and with the particular jobs, right? I mean, if you can't work on something for a number of years to get the results, then there's certain types of R&D jobs that are probably not good for you, right? So I encourage you. And the other thing is, I would encourage you to ask someone who knows you, who's willing to be brutally honest about what you really are, because 90% of the people have a distorted view of themselves, right? And so you need someone who's knows you enough, willing to be honest and tell you what you're really not good at, right? By the way, if you look at the four panelists, they all have very different backgrounds, right? You all went through your careers very differently. So it's a great example of what Dr. Chen said, which is, good people, they're not all alike, right?
Yeah, that's a great point, Peter. Look, I think I'm a great example of that. I studied as a systems and control engineer. That's the way I really started my career, and then I was introduced to the world of consulting, and I'm really excited about that potential that consulting for companies, for me, consulting in the chemical industry, what that could mean for me. And the consulting career path has the ability to really try different things up front, different types of roles, different types of clients, and there's a set career path really in terms of every couple of years being able to take on new challenges or new opportunities, ultimately to increase a level of responsibility, and increase ultimately the impact that you and your teams and your company is having to resolve issues or innovate or whatever the task at hand is. So I'm happy to share later in terms of more specifics, but engineering is a great place to start for a long-term successful consulting career as well. So it's something to consider.
So let's go on to the next question, which actually fits well with the last things we just said. What are the characteristics of people who tend to do well and are happy in chemistry and chemical engineering? All of you have been successful, so obviously, it's your own situation is not is part of it, but also you've probably witnessed many people who struggled, right? Who came in and may have been totally smart, so forth. But so any comment on? I guess I would combine it, saying, what are the characteristics of people who tend to do well and are happy? And then, have you noticed any pattern about characteristics of people who either don't do well or are unhappy, or both? And this is a question to any of you.
I'll go first. So I actually in my last role before right now leading this team for Genomatica, I was managing strategic university relationships for BP, and then also oversee very large programs within BP MIT program. So, and then kind of working with lots of people from the fresh out of graduate school to where it's quite mature in their career. So the kind of the common characteristics for people are doing well. Actually, it's not only you are good at what you do, right? It's not only you good at the subjects that you learned or you gained in the technical area, but it's really important characteristics, including like being innovative, like the panelist has mentioned, but also really collaborative and being a team player and unite. What we, Genomatica right now we call united. So it's really the characteristics of you being able to work in a team and contributing and working well with others and contributing to a problem together. So nobody has all the skill needed. So you really need to be able to work well with each other and then working towards the same goal. So that's an important characteristic for people who are successful in their career. And the other one would be being very passionate and being driven, not afraid of a challenge, having very good communication skills. So those are kind of things that I think is top on my list. I'll let other panelists to comment.
Okay. Any comment from others?
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to make sure all four of our panelists are happy people. I just want to let you know.
So I really like what Dr. Chen mentioned. So I really like what Dr. Chen mentioned, and I just would like to add one point to that. I think agility also is very important. We recently saw how we were all globally impacted in the pandemic situation. So in this particular scenario, how quickly we adapt to the new things also helps us move forward. So I think along with what you want to do, along with how good you are in what you do, I think being more agile also and being bold also helps to pave your own path towards your goal.
Kelly, any comments?
No, I would agree with everything that was said. Really being a collaborative team player is top of the line in my book of people who I've seen be very successful. And being open-minded to new ideas, bringing new ideas to the table, being innovative.
And Peter, I would just add to how you started almost this topic in terms of really finding the things that excite you personally, and really spending the time to reflect and to sort through that, because I feel I see the folks who have the most passion tend to probably do the best, right? And that's all about figuring out exactly what gets you excited, what gets you up in the morning, and understanding that is super important. And then also being able to change, right? So you're going to have a role as a student as you move on to graduation or first roll out in the workforce. It's a means to an end. It's like you're going to learn and you're going to move on to your next one, and being able to flex and needless and being agile to it is really important.
One other thing is that every company has a different personality, right? They have a different culture across a lot of things, ethics, a whole bunch of things are different. And pretty much every company is different. And so the panelists, how the culture and the personality fits you, right? But perhaps, you know, the panelists can elaborate on that, because some of you have been at one company for a long time, others have been more than one company and had a chance to compare along this issue, right?
Yeah, I can help now. So I work with a very huge companies that has lots of assets all over the world. I was able to get opportunity to travel all over the world and working with different group of peoples. And that when you have a huge company, the lots, you know, it needs regulations, it needs structure, it needs process, right? So you will see lots of process is needed to, you know, to guiding how people do things. You know, lots of trainings as well. And then for new company, the current company I'm working for it's a startup company. It's kind of, it's not very small, but it's not large, right? And then also it's pre-profit company. So we have to work with very tight timelines, have to make decisions very fast. And in many situations, we don't have all the resources that we need. So we have to be very adaptive, very agile, and then also working very well together. There's actually much less kind of processes, regulations, a lot of entrepreneur type spirit, right? So those are kind of differences, as Peter alluded to. It's which one gonna fit your, no right or wrong. Actually, both type of companies need almost the similar type of people, which is innovative, which is collaborative, which is team player, which is excellent, which is the basic trees all the same, but you will feel yourself will be probably better fit for one or the other, right? So, or you can fit both, but you have to ask yourself what environment would motivate myself more, what I like to get out from my career more, right? So that's a question you would have to answer by yourself. But there are quite different, you know, cultures, you know, and the kind of trees of different companies. So,
well, I have to say that we all feel that your statement that BP is slightly different size than Genomatica has a great deal of credibility, right? I think that's not fake facts. We don't have to fact check that. Anyone else can comment about culture? Because, you know, most of you have been in more than one company and so have been able to compare cultures along many lines, right?
The one thing I would just share is, you know, spend the time now up front researching the companies, getting to know the companies, you know, coming to career fairs like this, going to, you know, I know virtually maybe it's a little bit more challenging now, but, or maybe easier, but the point though is spend the time, get to know the people that work at the company that you're looking at. You know, understand, you know, what they're all about, what their strategy is, what their values are. Because it all is really important to you and your career and how you fit. You know, it's like hand in glove almost, right? So, just my 2 cents.
Yeah, just a quick thing to add on. Our company is a mid-sized company, very caring and humble culture. So I find that you need to have clarity of what you like, what you want to do, because once you have that, it's nice for the person to approach and talk to the higher ups and tell them what you want to do, and then they will help you to define a path which interests you. So having that clarity as well as knowing what you really want to do really helps when you want to take a step forward in your career.
David, that was really great. You answered the question as it arrived in the chat.
Yeah, that's David. You anticipated what Jake Rosenfeld said. His question is, how do you suggest we investigate to be able to determine the attitudes and personality of a company that matches our own values? How did you learn what was right and wrong for you? I know, David, you're a mind reader, right?
To get lucky, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's exactly right. You know, spend the time, you know, get to know the people of the company. I think that's probably the most important thing.
And don't rely just on interviews, because anyone can put up a front for 30 minutes, right? In fact, there's so many resources, Glassdoor and so forth, you know, where people will contribute anonymous views about the company and the culture and so forth, but use other tools really to really get the true story about each company to see whether it fits. So my last question before we go into the Q&A, and we have 3 or 4 questions here, and I encourage the students to to type in some questions and try to type ones in that David hasn't already figured out, right? So not everyone stays in any profession, right? Some do and some don't. So if you don't stay in the profession until retirement, what are the exit routes to other professions available to people who start out in chemicals or chemical engineering?
I'll give advice for whether you stay in the chemical industry or you're looking to leave is just network your entire career. Be talking to people, understanding what they do, what they about their job, what they like about their company. And then as you're looking for your career path, be selling yourself as far as what your strengths and weaknesses are, what your skill set is, and where you want to go and what you want to do. The more you put that out there, the more people are think of you when they have an opening that matches your skill set or what you want to do. And then I'll throw something else out there. I'm in an MBA program right now. So I'm not looking to leave the industry, but there are a lot of engineers in my cohort that are looking to make pivots. And some of them are looking to go into finance. Some of them are looking to move into consulting. Some of them are looking at starting their own company. So there are always ways later in life to make pivots out of the industry.
All right, the next question is, good afternoon. Okay, that's a good one. How are chemical industries adapting to Industry 4.0 or more computerized projects? What kind of career paths are possible to enter this sector? Anyone can answer the question.
I can go. So actually, it's a very insightful question. So thank you for asking that question. So absolutely, I think the chemical industry, our biochemical industry all need to adapt to a high computation world, and that's naturally what we need to do, because we need to be more, spend less time, spend less money to be able to introduce technology, introduce product to the market fast. And we need to do that well. We need to do that economic viable. We need to do that sustainable. We need to make sure, energy efficient. So we are already, employ a lot of computational tools, and we will continue building our capabilities to be able to help us, to utilize machine learning and artificial intelligence to help us to move on this, commercialization path faster, and to help us to do things even better. So you can see the industry from the beginning of R&D to the manufacturing operation side, and throughout the supply value chain, and that computational activities are increasing tremendously and exponentially, right, as time goes, as the software and hardware capabilities improve.
David, your company, probably because of the nature of what you do, you have to deal with this issue of computational digitization heavily, which is moving very rapidly, right? Any comments? Because you work for all different companies, so you get to see across many companies how this is changing.
Yeah, this is a great question. Thanks for asking it. Digital Industry 4.0 is cutting across the entire industry, all the functions of how companies operate. From Dr. Chen, how you said in terms of research development, if you think about that, it's the emergence of materials informatics, which is really the convergence of data science and material science, and using AI and ML to really identify new innovations or opportunity spaces, and ultimately new formulas or new molecules, hopefully one day. all the way to how chemical companies interact with their customers, creating more of that B2C or that Amazon buying experience for their customers. And all this just accelerated with COVID, right? So what was happening before COVID, it's like on steroids, post-COVID. So huge opportunity. We started the conversation, the panel that, there's a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities, but a lot of challenges that is in front of the industry. Industry 4.0 and digital is going to be front and center to overcome some of these challenges.
Well, you have to adapt. And someone told me a funny story this last weekend who said, some people can't. And he said he recalled when they invented cars, the old guard just said, well, we beat them just by getting horses to run faster, right? So, and obviously they didn't quite succeed. So you have to have the ability to adapt to these changes, but in the right way, right? Yep. Any other comments about the 4.0 from either Kelly or Anita?
Yeah, just one more thing is what I see, that predictive modeling and machine learning is also gaining importance in terms of operational world, right? Like we don't use our resources and just run the trials and say, oops, we are still trying it, and then we lose a lot of time and money doing that. But the computational world is going towards predictive modeling. So basically we understand what our machines do, and we try to predict, when I do these settings, what is the outcome of it, and then run the trials. So yes, all the operations side of the business are also going towards computational world. So analytics, predictive modeling, reports using functions like Power BI. On the sales side, Salesforce is taking a lot of new things where we have one platform to address all the inquiries coming in and doing business in general. So yes, a lot of things, and I agree with David that it's like on steroids after the post-COVID era. So yeah, a lot of things happening in terms of computerization.
There's a question here from a Columbia student. Said, hello and thank you for all the information. I was wondering, how much would all of you say your undergraduate or graduate education was related to your career paths? Were your careers directly influenced by what you studied? This is an interesting question, because like in my profession, investment banking, and I started on physics and math, but in my profession, half people are English majors and weren't math majors. So, the answer in investment banking is it may not, make a difference, right? But obviously that may not be true for your industry.
Yeah, for our industry, what you learn at school actually matters tremendously. So I'm still using the skills I learned at school, and I emphasize when we hire people, which are, are the importance of the really understand what they learn, right? So because you actually apply what you learn, your chemical engineering, your kinetics, your thermodynamics, your mass transfer, heat transfer, mass balances, heat balances, those type of things, apply to every project you're gonna need. So congratulations, you're not gonna lose all the knowledge you learned. You're gonna continue to utilize, and then you realize how important they are and how they are being utilized, and then being able to incorporate those together with all the other things you learn along the way, and then be able to create new things. So so you're gonna use it if you choose, if you're not choosing banking as Peter's career, then you have lots of chance to use most you learn, and throughout helping your career development along the way. So,
any other comments from the panelists?
I would say even in consulting, especially consulting in the chemical industry, we're working on a project right now to think about how to decarbonize the industry some with new technologies and things like that. So I had to go back to my chemistry courses at university to help solve some of those problems. So I would even say from consulting standpoint, learning the things you've learned over the last couple of years at university are very, very important.
Okay, the next question. Here's a good one from Nathan from Princeton. So, hello all. I was wondering, what are some of the ways that chemical engineers demonstrate their skills in the interview process? You want to get this answer before the career fair, by the way. How is the experience quantified, and what kind of metrics should we try to build as we start out our careers? Well, other than explaining that you solved, the toughest engineering problems, that's a good question, right? Any of you?
Yeah. I think one thing when I'm interviewing engineers is really their ability to communicate their technical skills to me. I can see your GPA and I can see that you did well in your classes, but like, can you tell me about a problem you solved and really demonstrate that you understand the technical capacity of that? And then beyond that, I want to hear about you being a team player and being a leader.
Nita, David, or Dr. Chen?
Yeah, I would say, Kelly, you're spot on. Being able to communicate your story, be able to tell your story, no matter if it's a technical story or whatever it is, and being able to tell it effectively in that process is really important, because everything we do, no matter what, you need to be able to communicate, and the start of it.
I would add that you are engineer student, right? So you should know that you treat this as a project. So you plan well, you practice, and then you go into the interview. You're not just going in there thinking everything gonna be turned out the way you like, right? So have a goal. So I always tell my teams that do anything you need to treat as a project. You have a goal, have an execution plan, planning for it, prepare, and then execute. Yeah. And learn from it afterwards, and then apply for your next one.
Right. And just like any good engineer, do your homework, right? Understand do your homework about the company that you're interviewing with and their personality. Because the killer question is when you go in, the first question is, what products does your company make? Generally, that is not a good way to start an interview, right? So, there are a lot of additional questions here, but we have run out of time because we do want to start the career fair, and I really want to thank the four panelists for really being terrific, and we achieved what we hoped, which was really to share your perspectives on a number of questions that these students are probably grappling with and need to understand, right, when they make their career decisions. So, thank you all. I'm sorry for the 5 or 6 questions that I didn't get to, but perhaps you can ask those during the career fair. And I remind you, what's going to happen is when we end this panel session, it's going to put all of you into this electronic ballroom, and you'll be able to look down, you'll see all the tables and the companies. And then all you have to do is click on a seat, and suddenly you'll appear along with the rest of the people and be able to see and talk with each other. We're going to now switch into the career fair, and it will go for an hour and a half, and so it'll give you plenty of time to talk to the companies that you talk to. So again, thank you very much to all 4 of the panelists. You guys did a great job, and I want to thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.